Hello and welcome. What looked like it was going to be a decidedly dodgy day has thankfully been rescued from us. And even though it might have been a monsoon, according to Benny, outside Old Trafford a little bit later on, the sun was shining on our result at the end. So welcome to you all. Lovely to have you all with us, whether you're watching us live, whether you're joining us and doing it on some sort of catch-up service, or whether or not you've just come here like in 6 months' time and thought, let's have a little watch and see what's going on. Hello to you. I am absolutely surrounded by a plethora of just absolute top reds. And that's a delight. It's something we enjoy having on this show. So let's say hello to them all very quickly whilst they're here. Dan, as ever, the sturdy co-host of Saturday Night Live, is here. How are you, sir?
Better after the third goal.
Right, exactly that. We have the return of the king himself, Bainesy. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, all good, mate. All good, thanks. Again, better after the third goal.
We've got a bit of shade already.
Where's no, it's because he's invisible on YouTube for some reason. You might need to log out and come back in.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really? Okay. Well, I'll stream you. I'll do it in a minute.
There we go. Poor Connor. We've also got the one, the only, the Viking himself, Benny. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well, sir. Very well, thank you. How are you, Barry?
Oh, loving life as ever. Loving life as ever. And click clock down on the left there, we have got Mr. Andrew Wall. How are you, sir?
I'm good. So yeah, just hot-fodded it back from Old Trafford.
Did brilliantly to get here on time. I'm very impressed. Well done. And no problems with the car, so even better. Good job, Wally. Love it. Wally, that could be a good one, like a little robot. I'm going to mull that over whilst I go through the questions. It's a really simple question to kick us off with. We need to start off with all the news coming up to the game, I think, first of all. On the thumbnail today, we have a picture of an ambulance. And the reason being because it is starting to resemble an episode of Casualty at Manchester United. Every day seems to be a new person who's out. So, important question, and we'll throw it over to you, Dan, first of all. What was your thoughts going into the game? I know you put a lot of stuff out on the Twitter or the X, depending on, what you want to call it. Talking about what the starting lineup was going to be and how it would change. What did you think about the injuries? How did they affect you and your feelings towards the game? And how did you feel then when the team sheet came out?
It was predictable. I thought he would make maybe one change from the following week, which would be Garnacho. And obviously the injuries have forced his hand. But it was entirely predictable. And personally, I think it's becoming a bit of an issue. We shouldn't be able to predict the lineup constantly after bad performances. There should be more changes. I predicted 3 changes, to be fair, and he made 3. I just thought Sancho would start instead of Martial. It's one of those that you're sort of happy that he's sticking with the team in one aspect because he's got the team he believes in. But at the same time, I'm worried further along in the season. Certain players have got to be questioning if they've got any future at Old Trafford. And we're not just talking about your Harry Maguires, who I'm sure he'll be nudged towards the door after today with Varane going off and him not coming on. But Sancho's got to be asking questions too. And then McTominay's come on for a relatively short role. We've got youth players or younger players that surely could get a chance with the injury situation. You've got Dalot going over to left back when Fernandes had a really good pre-season and he didn't get a kick. And I know there was hope that like Gore would come on today if we was in a good position, or Fernandes would get some minutes if we're in a good position. Obviously, as soon as we go 2-0 down after 5 minutes, those players were never going to see that pitch today. And obviously, we'll talk about it a bit later on once we get more into the game. But yeah, it's a bit of a worry. They owed Ten Hag a performance, to be honest. So within the first 5 minutes, it did not look good.
It didn't look good. I was saying I was washing up at the time, listening to it on the radio, and how I've still got pots and pans is just beyond me. Like, genuinely, I don't know how I maintain my self-control. There should be a hole in my window right now. But thankfully, there's not. So that's all good. Bainesy, how did it sort of affect you looking at how it was going? Because obviously we've got Mount out now till after the international breaks. We know that he's going to miss the Arsenal game now as well, at least. Luke Shaw, the muscle injury, he's going to be out longer than Mount, so probably not going to see him
November.
September.
November. Bloody hell.
November. Nightmare. Malacia, we've known about him being injured for a while, and he's going to be a few weeks longer as well, so we're not expecting to see him maybe till the end of September. In between all of that, you've got Ahmad, Heaton, Mainu, all injured. Maguire was questionable before the weekend anyway, and Hoyland's only just gone back to training. That's a ridiculous list of injuries to have, even at this stage of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, I tweeted that. I was like, tweeting it or Xing it or whatever it's called. That we're in an injury crisis in game week 3. But what is going on? You know, is it are the players training too hard, or have they not trained enough, or you know, because you've got Mount that's got a muscular injury, Shaw's got a muscular injury, Mainu's ankle, isn't it? Malacia was was that muscular as well? I can't remember. But yeah,
from last season as well. So it's taken him last month.
So it's a concern. It's a concern. And then just the way we started the game, you'd think that you would have some youngsters in today if the game went well. Obviously going 2-0 down in 4 or 5 minutes isn't great for everyone, especially the youngsters that could have got on today. But look, it's just an absolute freak of a first 4 or 5 minutes, and then you couple that with the injuries, like you say. I'm sorry, there's a fly in my room and it's really pissing me off. You couple that in with the injuries, and you couple that in with the injuries, and it's just not good, is it? You want to start the season, especially the first sort of 5 to 6 games, with your best squad. And he's got his favourites. You can tell that because he hasn't really rotated as much. I thought Sancho was gonna come in for Anthony, or perhaps where Martial was today. I thought every single time Sancho comes on from the bench, he does change the game quite a lot. Now I don't know whether that is now going to be his role, where he comes off the bench and he's more effective that way. We don't know until he starts the game. Garnacho, we saw last week, maybe he isn't quite ready yet, but can be effective coming off the bench, which is fair enough. But yeah, he's got his favourites, and I think that is going to haunt him, because we do need to rotate. You're gonna have the Champions League games in. We've got the Carabao Cup draw, so that's gonna come into effect soon. So yeah, it's definitely worrying. I mean, we've got so many injuries. It's game week 3. You know, I'm hoping next week we'll have a ready-ish Hoyland back. Obviously, Martial is slowly getting bedded in, but we all know the Martial that as soon as he starts and plays the 90 minutes, he's out again for 3 weeks. So yeah, it's going to be difficult. I think we're going to welcome that international break, I hope. But we'll see how we get on. It's certainly the good thing is we won today. That's the huge positive. If we came out of that with all those injuries and we had lost to Nottingham Forest today in the manner that we did in that first 4 or 5 minutes, it would have been hell. And then on top of that, you had the protest, which we'll get onto with Benny and Andrew. But yeah, it's glad. I'm so happy that we won today. It's a big thing for us. Good result in the end.
Yeah, me too. And I think, Benny, you're not a massive fan of international breaks, but you'll probably agree with what Baines has got to say there about actually it could prove to be quite helpful for us in terms of getting some of our players back. What we would say about it, obviously Mount, Shaw, Malacia all around the first team squad. Ahmad, Heaton and Mainu, obviously, Heaton's not breaking through. He's about 95 years old. But Ahmad and Mainu certainly were. And of course, Hoyland not having the chance to play yet. You're a man of the youth. You love a bit of the youth football. We've bopped Stoke 4-1 in the under-18s. We've bopped Stoke 10-1 in the under-21s. We've clearly got a good youth system, and I know you were really excited at the fact that we might see Fernandez, or we might see not Bruno. Alvarez. Don't know what that was. We might be seeing Fernandez. We might see. We didn't get to see either. That's brilliant. I just have a little wonder about that. Were you upset not to see Fernandez starting at left back, or were you okay with the decision to play Dalot instead?
Well, as soon as obviously the news of Luke Shaw came out, the first thing I went was Alvaro Fernandez. I put it on Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called these days. I could put the point where I put that on, I completely forgot about Diego Dalot can play left back. So someone mentioned it, and so obviously I had to add that in. I forgot about Dalot. You're right, Dalot will obviously start being the more experienced player. And then I went to tweet X, whatever the hell it's called, a bit later on, saying, well, in an injury crisis, sometimes youth gets the chance. Marcus Rashford being prime example against Midtjylland all them years ago now. Striker crisis. Had Will Keane not been injured, Will Keane would have got the nod ahead of Marcus Rashford, for that game. So sometimes it's all, you either steal a place, via hard work, via training and your performances in matches and keep yourself in there, or you get in there with a little bit of luck, with it being injuries or having an injury crisis in a certain position. But as soon as somebody, as I said, mentioned about Dalot, I was like, yeah, he's going to start. Eric's going to go pretty, especially after lost the week before at Spurs. He's going to go pretty strong, or as strong as he can. But Alvaro Fernandez, he's a really good player. Really, really good player. He's the one that everybody, before Garnacho, he's the one that everybody was buzzing about a couple of years ago. Everybody was before the emergence of Garnacho, everyone was thinking this Alvaro Fernandez is the next one. He looks the part. Brilliant going forward. Question marks over him defensively. I think he can make a great left winger, to be fair, more than left back. But since he's gone to Preston, I've noticed that he's worked a lot on his defensive side of the game, so it looks a little bit more comfortable. What I've seen of him in pre-season, yes, that there about Fernandez for ages there, but yeah, he looks like he's worked on his game at Preston. I think Preston's been a really, really good loan move for him last season. And listen, you don't play 40-odd games for Preston in the Championship and then become their Young Player of the Year for nothing. And they were raving about him down at Preston. So a little bit disappointed that he didn't start. And again, the same, I think it was Bainsy that said it there, he was never going to bring in the youth form, when after that disastrous start, unfortunately. He was thinking, if we maybe get 4-2 ahead, he may give one of them a little run out last 5-10. But while it's 2-2 and then 3-2 and it stayed 3-2 and you've got 11 minutes stoppage time or 12 minutes, I can't remember the top of my head there, at the end of the game, at 3-2, you're not going to risk it. I think there was a point that Dan Gore I thought was going to come on because as it ticked into stoppage time, it looked like he was sent out to warm up. Looked ready to come on, to be fair. Whether Ten Hag changed his mind again, because I think McTominay went down as well. Whether he took a blow to the face or something, because I think he's changed his shirt aside. So whether it was just as a precaution in case McTominay couldn't continue, I don't know. But it's disappointing because you always want, especially with Ten Hag, the way he worked with Ajax, worked with the youth, and as United fans, you always like to see a youth player get a chance, get some minutes, whether that be 5 minutes at the end, a 5-minute run out, in the first team. They've got that under their belt now. It settles them down a little bit. So next time they're called upon, they've had that 5 minutes at Old Trafford. It's not going to be as nerve-wracking for that. But someone like Dan Gore, I ain't got nerves. That guy is just unreal. When it Stockport away, he's running the midfield. All right, against League Two opposition, he's running the midfield. And he's playing a lot deeper than a lot of people expect Dan Gore to play. A lot deeper. Whether that's something that Ten Hag's maybe had a word with Travis Binion to play him a little bit deeper. Is he maybe the long-term successor to Casemiro? Maybe is that why he's maybe playing a little bit deeper than what Dangor usually plays? But listen, if he's dominating its League Two sides, playing in a deeper role than he's usually is in the centre of the park, he's one to really, really watch out for. I honestly, and I've been banging about Dangor for a good year or so, good 2 years now, I think. If people want to go back after this show, watch the youth shows that me and Connor have done on this channel with Tony. We've always had discussions about Dangor. He's just one of those, You've got Sam Mather coming up as well. He scored today for the 21s in the 10-1 win against Stoke. Had he not got injured, he may have just been ahead of Dangor, but he's had a couple of serious injuries, Sam Mather. So, unfortunately for Mather, Dangor's now jumped ahead in the pecking order. And I think he's going to be around Dangor, the first team. I think there's already been said that he's not going to go out on loan. Ten Hag wants to keep him in and around the first team, training with the first team. And obviously, you've got the EFL Trophy, the FA Youth Cup, the Youth Champions League this year. So you're going to see a couple of the bigger players maybe staying around. And I certainly on Alvaro Fernandez, we've got to keep him around as well, with Luke Shaw out for a little while now, and no telling when Malassi is going to be back. So we need that cover at left back. I think there's talk of him going out on loan, maybe possibly being sold, but now we can't do anything with Alvaro Fernandez. Now we've got to keep him around just for that little bit of depth, and hopefully he gets his opportunity to try and impress.
Yeah, it wouldn't be sensible, would it, to be getting rid of Fernandez at this point? We've already got Williams, who was sat on the bench for Ipswich. So yeah, definitely having a backup left back would be a good idea. If you're looking for comedy whilst you're here tonight, I'd recommend keeping an eye on Bainesy, because clearly that fly is absolutely running roughshod.
Honestly, I'm gonna go fucking mad. I'm gonna go fucking mad. It's every single time I want to fucking talk, it gets in my fucking glasses. I'm gonna. I've got a pillow here. I might start swinging. Seriously. It's really not. I'm sorry. So just bear with me on that one.
So genuinely, it's a good job you've got ears, everyone. Just listen to what we're saying, but just keep your eye out there, because you just never know. You might be right hooking a fly anytime soon. Andrew Wall, thank you for joining us once again. And yeah, I suppose really just your sort of opinions on how the game began, really, because we'd made 3 changes, as we said. We put Dallo in at left back. Ericsson came in to replace Mount, which I don't think really surprised people. It meant that Fernandez moved up a bit and played more in the attacking role that we're used to seeing him in. Marcus Rashford moves out to the left to make way for Anthony Martial to go down the middle. In all reasonable ways, we should have been looking at that match and thinking, it's a reasonably balanced side. We should be expecting them to do well. They did all right last season. Was that your thoughts when you were looking at the team sheet?
Yeah, definitely. I just thought, after the first 2 games, I thought we needed a performance on that team. I felt like we could do it, and I was a bit surprised that Martial made the starting lineup. I thought, maybe it was going to be Sancho, because the rumour was Hoyland might have made the match day squad, so we might have had that debut to look forward to, but then that might be still, say, a couple more weeks, off, until after the international break. But yeah, in terms of the team lineup, yeah, I just felt like we could go out there, give a performance, get out the traps early, get a goal ahead, and just keep on at Forest. And I just felt like with the midfield, Mason Mount being out, I thought, well, that's going to give Ericsson or McTominay the start in the midfield alongside Casemiro and Fernandez as well. So I wasn't surprised it was Ericsson that got the nod. So, but yeah, and then I was just unsure whether Garnacho would start or not, because the last 2 games I felt like, as the games have gone on, he's got more tired. I'm just thinking maybe he's more effective at the moment coming off the bench. So that's why I just thought, which one would Garnacho get his start, or would it be Anthony? But he started to stick with Anthony. But in terms of the game, well, we made it hard work. It was just I don't know. We just got caught napping out the blocks. I was just like, okay, we're a goal down. Okay, we can come back from this. We'll get going again. And then literally, it was just disbelief that we were 2-0 down within 4 minutes. I said to Graham, who was sitting next to, I said, I remember a game, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago against Newcastle when we was 2-0 down within 10 minutes. I thought, we've got to make that sort of comeback here. And I mean, it was more the first goal I was, you could say, unhappy with. Just terrible defending from us. We just got caught out from conceding the corner as well. It was just, I was just thinking then, like the midfield, it was just like, just looked a bit weak at times. And I just think Casemiro did redeem himself, you say, with getting the goal as well. So, yeah, I just think we were playing in moments, a bit like last season. We were just in moments where we just turned it on, was we needed the whole 90 minutes. But yeah, one of those games today, I'm just glad we just got it over the line, but yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard of Kung Fu Panda. Today we're watching Kung Fu Benzi. I swear this is going to be
annoying. I'm going to have to open the door.
It's amazing.
I think it's because it might be because I'm drinking like a really fruity drink. You know what I mean? Like it attracts the sweet smells or something.
Good work. Good work.
Honestly, I'm really going to start swinging in a minute. I'm going to have to have a camera on, I think.
Deary me, Kung Fu Benzi is definitely going to stick. So we might as well get to the game now. We'll kick off, and as I do normally when it comes to a match review, we're going to, for each person, move it on to the next big talking point. But if you do have something major you want to mention about something that somebody else was talking about, do feel free to throw your 2 pence worth in as well. Johnny Neville, top of the morning to you, son. Schoolboy defending for the 2 Forest goals. Let's talk about that very first one. Dan, help me out a bit here, because we had a corner. Now, my day basically consisted of listening to TalkSport, and then when something big happened, going to Twitter to see who had recorded something that I could watch so that I could bring it to life in front of my eyes. And so they went off to Arsenal. And I literally, remember, I'm watching up, I'm laughing because Arsenal have gone 1-0 down to Fulham. I'm like, and within seconds, they come back and they say Nottingham Forest have scored. And it was comical. It really was. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, so I'd really like to get them. But number one, you've got to ask the question, why is Rashford the person who's going to be the furthest back in a corner situation? I thought he was meant to be attacking wise. So yeah, what was your thoughts on the whole little run then from the halfway line? Wasn't caught by the 3 players, and then he sat Onana down. What was your thoughts on that first goal?
I don't know whether Rashford carried on doing that or not, to be honest. I never looked out for that, but my assumption would be because the Forest lad's quick, that Rashford was back for speed. The less said about the defending for it, the better. It wasn't a great piece of defending, even from the front. When we lost the ball at the corner, these players, I thought Wan-Bissaka was a bit loose on his run back as well. Rashford just sort of, I don't know, he seemed to give up on the halfway line, realise actually there's a chance I can catch him here, catch up to him, and then because he's a striker in the middle of the box on his own, clearly didn't want to make the tackle because he thought he might give the penalty away, and then realised, oh, actually I could probably get my toe in if I try here. Tried to poke his toe in, which was fine, and then Onana sort of came, didn't come, decided he was going to come, stopped when he just didn't know what to do. And I didn't realise until probably about the 4th replay that he got quite a big hand to it. You could argue that maybe he could have done a little bit better with the shot itself. It was just a bit comical, to be honest. And it's something we've seen a lot defensively this season. There's been big errors just for no reason, really. The lad basically just picked up and ran.
I didn't see it got his hand to it then.
Yeah,
but
he got a big hand to it.
What I did see was that he sat down before the shot was taken.
Yeah.
And this is the guy we're talking about who is miles out of his area. He was castigated consistently for never coming out of his goal. Why didn't Onana close him down? Why did the 3 that are running back, can they not be expecting him to close the angle a bit and come out a bit more rather than waiting back for someone to come at him? Because that's how I was always taught.
The only thing I can think is he's had a few in pre-season anywhere he's been chipped or the ball's been knocked over his head. Maybe he thought he couldn't get there, so he's better off waiting. And then it's just little movements. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Iwoni. He throws like a little feint, and the keeper
That's
falls
not how
for
you
it.
pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't know how. He throws a little feint,
Good
and
crack.
he just sits him down, and that's that. And then he sort of realizes that he's been sat down, so tries to make a double movement. But I'd like to say it wasn't until probably about the fourth replay that I realized he got quite a big hand on it. He was probably a bit too close to him for him to push it away. I would say that Davide probably saves it with his legs if we're going to give credit. But it was just poor all around, to be honest. It was shocking, actually shocking. And then obviously the second goal is on a par just as bad. Needless free kick giveaway.
Well, let's get
Wan-Bissaka
on that
don't
one.
head the ball away. He for whatever reason sort of ducks underneath it. They were saying that people can disagree, but they were saying the Forest lad sort of heads it in. He just hit him. He didn't know what was going off. It literally just hit him in the side of the face and went in.
I mean, to be fair, he does turn his head. So I think he kind of knew that, but it did blatantly go off his nose. Bainesy, I mean, the things I wrote down for that is, first of all, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Varane stood either side of him. They don't even jump, like nothing. They just literally, even the guy who does the header doesn't jump. It just literally smacks him in the face. He turns his head like that, and in it goes. If that's Harry Maguire, the internet has a meltdown. No.
Yeah. I was literally going to say the exact same thing. Now, if we swap Varane or Martinez out for Maguire, everyone's on Maguire like a rash. So let's keep the same energy here because it was Varane's fault, and he's actually. I'm not sure what happened at halftime, but he hobbled off. He's obviously got replaced for Lindelof, who, by the way, needs to have a huge credit because every single time Lindelof seems to come on the pitch, he puts on a stellar performance every single time. No one seems to mention it. And I know for defenders and goalkeepers, the less you talk about them, the better they are. Because they always seem to be in the media for the wrong reasons. But on the goals, it's just a calamity full of errors. First of all, the corner. So you're a professional footballer and you can't clear the first man. What is all that about? Okay, so fair enough, you don't hit it right, whatever. Then you've got Wan-Bissaka he's jumped for the ball, but it's sort of half-assed. He knew he weren't going to win it, but he's like, it'd be better if I just jump at it and see what's all that about? And then you've got Rashford going into a 50-50 and he's absolutely bottled it. And the Nottingham Forest, I'm not going to say his name, Nottingham Forest striker gets onto it. Now, the only thing I can think of, usually when United sit up on corners, you've got, I'm pretty sure it's Wan-Bissaka that sits on the halfway line or sort of there or thereabouts. And he's the one that stops the counter 9 times out of 10. I've got no idea why it's Anthony and Rashford. Isn't Rashford like 6'4" or something? So why shouldn't he be in the box? And he's a striker. He should be in the box, right? So yeah, it was weird. The only thing I can think of is what Dan just said was that they were obviously prepared for the counter on the transition. So they put the quickest players to stop the counter, which is essentially Anthony and Rashford. Okay, that's fair enough. And then, so he's through on goal. And then, I don't know what Onana's doing. Again, look, we can't blame him because there's a whole heap of errors that happened way before that. But he sort of gets like mugged off, really, doesn't he? And then he does get a hand to it, whatever, The second goal, you can't really, it's everyone misses it. It hits someone in the face and it just goes in. I mean, like Sunday League stuff, that. But look, it's happened, and in hindsight, it is a wonderful thing. We did win the game, but yeah, it was. I don't we spoke pre-show, and this is the first time we've conceded in the first 4 minutes. That's the quickest we've conceded 2 goals at Old Trafford. It's just it's a weird thing. And after the game, even though we had won, and someone rightfully called me out in our WhatsApp group and said, "Aren't you happy the fact that we won?" Yes, I'm happy that. Yes, of course, I'm happier that we won. But why is it that we need to go 1 or 2-0 down to actually start playing football, because when we did go 2-0 down, we've played some brilliant football. The 1-2s, the interlocking, cutting out the transitions, creating chance. Bruno was brilliant today. I mean, again, first few minutes, fair enough, but why do we need... This happened under Ollie. This happened a lot with Ten Hag last year. For some reason, we need to go 1-0 down in order for us to start playing. But, it is what it is. We won the game. I'm glad... If we do that next week, I think we're done for. And we said this at Wolves when we won 1-0. If we start really bad at Tottenham, then it could sway either side. But yeah, it is what it is. We're just going to have to. We're just going to have to get on with it. Oh, is my camera?
Yes, Connor, he has. Currently, like he's started the great 1990s.
Why did no one say anything, man?
Tragedy, or he's really into the Bee Gees. But
I just thought he was doing his best impression of the steps.
Is it all right? But is it all right now, or am I still frozen like a twat?
We can hear you brilliantly. Can't see you moving, mate. The fly's obviously got on your computer. But honestly, the story of Bainesy today is just unreal.
Am I back now?
Oh, Bainesy, lad. Oh,
I'm having a mare here, and that fly has really fucked me off as well. I killed it, by the way. Am I back?
You're still
What's
like
going on?
Tragedy.
Oh my
God. You can't see Bainesy. Oh, there we go. He is. Come back, Bainesy.
Am I back?
It's
Hello?
looking good for you, mate. You might need to go out and come back in again, mate.
Okay.
Spray some fly killer. And while you're doing that, Benny will take us through the absolute joy of getting the goal back. Because honestly, as much as the rest of it might have been comical, this goal was brilliant. Absolutely top draw. Superb free kick. Fernandez put it out straight off the training ground. Rashford with a nice little dink over the top. Who's there? Captain Fernandez, of course. And he just heads it across completely unselfishly. And good old Eriksen smashes it in. Brilliant goal.
Yeah, it was a top work, really work goal, like you say. And then sometimes,
Hang on a minute. Sorry. I've made a complete cock up there. I've described the Casemiro goal. The Rashford goal. Sorry, I've got flying out. It's come through all the way through. That was from Rashford, sorry. So Martial wins the ball back after a shot from Fernandez. And then Rashford puts it across for Eriksen. Let's talk about the right goal, because that's always helpful.
Right, now we're talking about the right. No worries. Anyway, as we're saying, sometimes, the good thing about United, so even when we're not playing very well, the fans get a little bit restless. They're still trying to play football the right way. We're still trying to create chances. We're not trying to panic too much. Not trying to, overdo it. It's quite easy, as a footballer, I'm sure, when the crowd's a bit restless and things are not going right, you find yourself 2-0 down after the first four or so minutes. And sometimes, you're probably trying things that, or trying a little too hard to try and get back into the game. But no, United, we're playing our football, we didn't panic. We didn't go on panic stations. We just continued to plug away. And and it's good to see. It's just, it was good to see Eriksen back on the goal scoring sheet as well. Big fan of Christian Eriksen. Yes, his legs are slowing down a little bit, and he's not going to complete 90 minutes throughout the whole season. He'll be brought in off the bench, or if he does start, he'll more often, like last season, more often not, he'll get substituted. But today, Eriksen was brilliant. And sometimes the good thing about Eriksen is he's got a footballing brain. His legs might not be there with him anymore, but he's got a fantastic footballing brain. And then I think our midfield sometimes looks a little bit better with Eriksen in there, just somebody that's got the know-how, that's just, can put a foot on the ball, pick the passes out, help Bruno out a little bit, so it's not always on Bruno Fernandes. And he's got a really, really good habit of making them sort of really, really intelligent runs into the box, as what happens with his goal is he's intelligent running off the ball, you know, he's not just stood there in no man's land. He's not just stood there in midfield, you know, just wondering, well, you know, I'm just going to take it easy. You know, that's not my job to do that anymore. I haven't got the legs. But no, he's got a fantastic footballing brain, and he knows that anything that breaks in there, I'm the first one to it. I'm going to put this in the back of the net, which he does. You know, and I sometimes think, and I sometimes wish to myself, I'm like, can we not transplant his brain into some of our other players at our forward line? You know, just that little bit of movement, that little bit of know-how, that little bit of quality. You know, in quick thinking. You know, just to break into the box. Sometimes we're putting the balls in the box, nobody's there, or nobody's moving, nobody's, you know, they're standing like statues. It's like waiting for the ball to come to me. You just make that little run, you know, across the 6-yard area. Make that little run to the near post or to the far post. Vary it up a little bit. Sometimes we're stood sort of, you know, stood in our positions, you know, stood maybe, for example, for Rashford, he's standing on the edge of the area, or the ball's pinged into the area, and he's not really anticipating. He's not making a break for the penalty spot. He's not making a break, you know, make a run across the goalkeeper. He's there waiting for it, the far post to come onto his head. It's like sometimes I'm thinking, just that little bit of movement, that little bit of, you know, that little bit of class, that little bit of thought, and that's what you get with Eriksen. He's just brilliant, you know, great footballing brain, and I'm just so glad that he was on the goal scoring sheet again. And but yeah, I don't Anthony. Anthony's
breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Anthony's killed the fly.
He's killed
Yeah, because he was doing a fucking Eddie. I mean,
I thought Dean Henderson had gone. Then you said breaking news. I thought
it's more important than that.
Like Dean Henderson's gone to Palace or something. Oh,
no, sorry, but he only killed a fly. It's all right.
Yeah, but just to finish off on Anthony, by the way, he had a better game today. He looked a lot more live. He looked a lot more like the Anthony that, you know, that we expect to see. Somebody that wants the ball, somebody that wants to take a shot. I think Anthony, especially against Spurs, I don't think his head was in it. You know, whether all the personal things off the field was just maybe messing with his head a little bit, especially, you know, so close to that Spurs game. Spurs, he was non-existent. He might as well not have been on the football field. But today, lively, he's moving, he's swapping with Rashford, was the swapping wings, you know. Rashford's not had a good time on the left. Anthony's like, well, you go on the right and I'll try and look on the left, which is good to see. They're not just... He looked a lot lively today. Yeah, he had a few decent shots. The keepers saved a couple there off him as well. So it's just good to see Anthony back. Buzzing. I use the word buzzing. Sorry, I know he killed a fly there, but I'm using the word buzzing because it's just buzzing around, you know, having that bit of energy. It's having a bit of energy, you know, about Anthony again. Whereas I think the first couple of games that Anthony hasn't been as buzzing, as lively as I'd like to see Anthony be, and as we've seen Anthony being in the past. So just big up Anthony, really. I thought he was really decent today.
Absolutely. He was buzzing, but whilst he was buzzing, after we go 2-1, pull it back to 2-1, the defence was flapping, to be fair, weren't they, Andrew? Because it could have been 2-2 before the break. Casemiro had a superb opportunity there with his head. Could you quite believe that didn't get in the back of the net?
I was like, how has he not scored? I was like, why isn't he? Literally just right in front of him. I was like, we all just were about to just get up and cheer. I was like, luckily, you know, that miss by Casemiro, it didn't cost us in the end. It could have if he, you know, he did redeem himself in the second half as well. You know, that free kick by him from Bruno. When he initially put it across to Rashford, I was like, okay, I thought Rashford was going to, you know, take the shot, and then Rashford put it in towards the box. I thought, oh, there's Bruno just making the run in, and then luckily Casemiro got his second chance from the close range and, you know, put it away. So yeah, I say he would have had sleepless nights. We probably would have had sleepless nights if he had, you know, that one he did miss, you know, and it did cost us in the end. But no, literally, as I said, he redeemed himself. And like when he was coming off the pitch at full time, we were singing his name. So I say, I think Casemiro, I think the first two games, he's like some of the other players have been off the pace. And I just think today, I think he he's working his way back in there. So I just think we'll see him come good again.
Yeah, unfortunately, that fly won't be seen any more nights at all. Thanks to Kung Fu Bainsy down there. But, Dan, second half came in. Lindelof came on for Varane. Ten Hag saying it was to do with some injuries, potentially not feeling comfortable. So as a result, they took him off, didn't want to risk it. I'm not convinced. However, what I was convinced about was that brilliant goal that I started describing because I was so excited by it for the first one, which did end up with Casemiro, and that was a really good one. The free kick, like we say, ball over the top from Rashford. Fernandez unselfishly putting it across with Casemiro, who decided just to be really cheeky, take 2 touches to put it in. Why just bang it in when you can tease the goalkeeper into thinking he's got a chance of grabbing it? What a moment, 2-2.
Well, I think he might have taken the 2 touches because he missed from 6 yards before. No, it was a brilliant goal. I've watched a plethora of different videos since full time, and the agenda's just real, isn't it? I try not to buy into stuff like this, but the amount of people that described it as an accident in terms of the free kick, saying that they didn't mean to do it, it wasn't off the training ground, it just sort of panned out that way. It clearly was off the training ground, and it's just worked magically. There was another one actually in the second half as well, with Fernandez is over the ball. I think it was just after the red card, and I'm sort of screaming, saying, "Pass that to Dalot, pass it to Dalot.
Yeah.
He's in so much space, pass it to Dalot." And they did it, and then Dalot wasn't even ready, and I was furious. I was like, "What are you doing?" Because that was just an easy chance, come and gone. But to be honest, after the first goal, in fact, after Forest's second goal, I thought Forest played into our hands massively. They sat back in. The intention was we've got 2 goals here. We'll stick with that, and then we'll hope it will be enough to get us to full time. We're not going to have many games like that. The players need to really shape up going into next week. We just need to be a bit, because I mean, you take away the first 5 minutes, which everybody would love to do. I thought the performance was quite good, but you've just got to look at what the opposition were doing. They was letting us play. I agree with Benny in terms of Eriksen was fantastic once Forest sat off. But I think these 3 parts to the game for me. There was the first 5 minutes in which we looked absolutely lost. Then we got back into the game and took the lead. And after we took the lead against 10 men, we were struggling. And it was a bit concerning to see us struggle so much on the ball in the second half once we got back in front. I'm hoping the performances get better going forward. I mean, we've took 2 wins at Old Trafford, obviously unbeaten in 31 now. Can't grumble at that, but there's still a slight worry about the performances themselves.
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. 2-2, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, red card for Anthony Worrell-Thompson. It's not his real name, it's just Worrell, but that's what I want to call him, as soon as that was written down there. Worrell sent off. I can kind of see why the ref gave it, Bainsy, but by the same token, was there somebody just coming back as well? What was your take on the red card? Deserved?
Yeah, if you, it's a weird one, because if you take the interpretation of the rule, is if you're last man but you play for the ball, you get a yellow card. But in that instance, I think he tripped over and then he pulled Bruno down, therefore not playing the ball.
That rule only applies in the penalty box, not outside the penalty box.
Right. Again, look, I've got it wrong. So, like, it's...
Yeah.
I
It would
don't
have
know.
to be the
It's
last
such...
man. If he's outside the box, he would have to be classed as the last man.
The last man, which you weren't. Yeah, which you weren't. I think it was... To be honest, I think we would have won the game anyway with 11 men out either way. I think the way the game had panned out and the possession-wise and the relentlessness of it, we should have won the game anyway. Of course, the red card helped. We ended up getting a penalty anyway, but it's a very tough red. If that was the other way round, we would be arguing that another player was there to cover and the keeper ended up having the ball anyway. So I can completely understand from a Forest point of view that is a very, very tough red. I mean, if they want to review it, they can. I can imagine that will get turned around anyway. But look, we were meant to have a penalty last week with that handball. So when people say things swings on roundabouts, then yeah, okay, fine, we'll take it. But
Sorry,
yeah, it's a tough
can
red.
I just ask what the other two thought of whether it was a red or not?
A red, yeah.
So what about Benny and Andrew? Did you think it was red?
I sit the opposite end of the Stretford end. I initially thought it was red, and then when it went to VAR, I was looking at it. I thought, is it maybe not a red? Then is it going to overturn the red card? And then it just popped up saying, "Oh, VAR complete red card." They're sticking with it. But VAR's come under a lot of pressure lately. You've had what's his name, Mike Dean, he said about referee, about not giving things, not putting his mate, in harm's way, sort of thing. And then you've got the Onana thing from Wolves game, and you've got the penalty that should have been against Spurs for us. It just seems VAR. It just seems a total baffle all the time. It just seems to be whatever they decide. It seems to be whatever they decide on the day. It doesn't seem to be this is the rule. I watched it back and I think it is quite harsh. Like you say, I don't think it's a red either. I think it's a yellow card. There's a covering player there. I just think do these not make it up as they go on every week? Is it, we didn't give such and such decision last week, maybe we should give such a decision this week to try and even it out so we've not got people on our backs, on our cases? I don't know, mate. I'm not the biggest fan of VAR as it is. I think we just do away with it and go back with the referees' decisions and, as the on-field refs' decisions and that, and that causes us even more debates, but at least we know that it's the on-field referee, and the thing is that there's VARs that take forever as well, so they're looking and looking and looking, and it's like, what you got behind the screen of these VARs, a bunch of toddlers or something, or people that don't know what they're doing or don't know the rules, because it just really annoys with VAR. It's never consistent. It's always inconsistent. What's handball last week is not handball in the week after. What's offside one week is not offside the week after. There's never any consistency with it. And no wonder why referees are getting a hard time. And, because there's never consistency about it, and they must be scratching their head going, well, hold on. If this was a penalty last week, why is it a penalty this week? If I'm booking someone this week and you're telling me it's a red card next week, if it's a red card last week and you're telling me this week it's a yellow card, there's so much inconsistency. It's unreal. Somebody needs to be sitting down, and going through it and revise, especially when the international break comes up. If I was, I can't remember the PMGOL, whatever the hell it's called, the guy, Baldy, yeah. Whether he sits down with his referees and his VAR assistants and all that lot and goes, listen, we need to be, taking the letter of the law, what's in the rule books, we've got to stick by it, because it's just crowded. Just every week is inconsistency, and players don't know what's going on, managers don't know what's going on, the referees themselves on the field, they must be in two minds. Or what am I giving here? Am I giving a yellow card in this situation? Am I giving a red card? If I give a red card in this situation, and it's going to VAR sticking with me. If I'm giving a red card next week for the same thing, and VAR's overturning me to put my red card back in my pocket and give a yellow card, it's absolutely baffling.
Right. So the reason I asked this and why I'm quite interested is because I'm quite critical of referees. So I actually thought it was a red card, and it should have stayed a red card. And I'll be interested to see Andrew's view on it as well. And the reason why I think it is a red card is because, so basically, one of the channels that I've watched after the game said that Fernandes hasn't got time to take a touch and shoot before Bolly gets across. Fernandes has got more than enough time to get a shot away first time if the player doesn't drag him to the floor. And Bolly wouldn't be able to block the shot that he gets away. He wouldn't get across in time. So while
Fernandes didn't have the ball under control.
No, but if he lets him go, he gets the kickoff. The keeper doesn't get the ball first. Fernandez gets there first. So he's basically shooting one-on-one at the goalkeeper, and Bolly would be next to him. Bar a miracle slide tackle or like a Superman block, he's not going to stop a
You
shot.
have to foul him.
Yeah, basically, I think Fernandez is going to get the shot away. And then this is the reason why I find it interesting, because it's obviously down to interpretation. So it's the way you look at it, if that makes sense. There's nothing clear and obvious about the referee's decision on the pitch that VAR can then overturn. So if he's saying to VAR, I think he's going to get shot away with no interference from any other defender, it's got to be a red card because that's what he's given on the pitch. Whereas if he gives a yellow and he says, I think Bolly could get across in time, I don't think they would upgrade it to a red because
no, they wouldn't. Yeah, this is the thing.
It's one of them that they've stuck with the rest decision on the pitch, even though it's subjective. So, what about you, Andrew? What did you think?
At the time watching it, because like the angle I saw it from, I was like, well, definitely shouted up saying foul, but I thought it was just going to be a yellow card. I just thought, and now watching the replay back of it, I was thinking maybe it was a bit too harsh, getting a red card because the ball, Casemiro hit the ball over, and then Bruno was getting, pulled and trying to get a tackle, but I just think would he have got there on time? Barley was probably one of the quickest players on the pitch for Forest, so I think he might have just got across in time. But then there's the goalkeeper in the away as well, so I just think at the time I was like, that's all shouting for a foul free kick. When the red card came out, I was like, okay, we'll take it. But then VAR got involved. I was like, well, okay, is there something else in this? And I just thought, well, if they go and rescind the, red card, is it, is they going to put it back down to yellow? So, but yeah, just don't know. Would Bruno have got there in time? Who knows? It's all subjective, and I'm just thinking.
Yeah. I genuinely think
if he
gives a yellow card on the pitch,
this is the problem, Dan. If it's going to be subjective, they need to go and look at it. If you're going to stand there for a minute while somebody else is watching it for you,
but what I'm saying is, I don't.
So they need to go and look at that and go, actually, because it's a reasonable thing for him to do.
No, because this is what I mean by VAR. They'll only look at it if it's going to basically if the VAR ref says, we think you've got that wrong, so your explanation to us is wrong. So what you've said is this has happened, but that's not what's happened. You need to go and have a look. So the referee would have said today, I think Bruno's going to get a shot away if he's not pulled down with nobody else interfering with him. It is going to be a clean shot one-on-one against the keeper. And then VAR would have looked at the replays and gone, we can't say for sure Bolly would get across. So your decision isn't wrong. We can't tell you it's wrong. So we can't send you to the screen. I think if he would have given a yellow card, then they wouldn't upgrade it.
Because ultimately, it shouldn't be the people on VAR that are making the decision. Just let them look at it. I mean, it takes them, 30 seconds to go and run to the side?
But it might be a good thing because you might see referees actually change their mind a bit more.
Exactly. And they might look at that and go, do you know what? Because we all do it. Like Andrew just said, I thought, probably would be a red card when you watch it first of all. But then when you watch the replay, see if they've fallen over. And like Bainesy said, that happens 6 feet further forward in the penalty area. It's a yellow card and a penalty.
No, it'd be a red in the penalty area.
It wouldn't be red.
No, it would be. You have to make an attempt to play the ball. So the double jeopardy rule's gone. So if you slide through and clean someone out, but you've gone for the ball, if you're last man, it's not red anymore. But if you just pull someone down like he did, you'd be sent off because you made no attempt to play the ball.
Yeah, but he also was making an attempt at running. And this is my point. You can have rules as long as you like, but you've got to sit there and take a look at it and go, hang on a minute.
Well, can you not remember the David Luiz sending off from a few seasons back where he slightly clipped somebody's foot because it was no attempt to play the ball, the sending off because it was in the penalty area. That's the rule now. So if you've made no attempt to play the ball, you're going to be sent off if you're the last man.
But he's also made no attempt to pull him down. Even when he's falling down, it's not like he's sat there and gone, whoop, let's just pull your shorts down here.
He just grabs hold of his
over. And it happens. And it's a foul. Absolutely, it's a foul because it stops Fernandez from going forward. But if we're going to start, criticising people because of the fact they've fallen over, it ruins games, I think, when we have that. And I think, as much as we're saying that, I'm with Bainesy. I reckon if we look at that the other way around, and that's Martinez who's fallen over, we're all going, there's no way that should be a red card. Varane's there to cover, or Lindelof's there to cover, or Onana's there to cover because he's already on the halfway line. All of these things would have been said. So, the problem with VAR isn't this. I mean, Jennifer says, the game's managed without VAR for a century. It can now. VAR itself isn't the issue. It's just a bit of technology. It's still the people that are using it. It's like blaming a car, sorry, Andrew, for a car crash. It's not the car. It's the person who's driving the car. You can't sit there and have a go at it. So, it's a ridiculous one, really. But I'm with you. And on that same level, I know, Dan, you were very vocal about the BBC. Because Martin Keown decided to really come out against
fuck that prick.
Was it a penalty? This is the big question I'm going to ask. Just one word from all of you. Was it a penalty? Dan?
Yes.
Bainesy?
Yeah, 100%.
Benny?
Absolutely.
Nice, absolutely. So he's a senior. Yes. See how
he's
he
definitely sure.
Works, boys. Yeah. Andrew?
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. He comes across and takes him out. So I think we're all agreed with that. So we don't have to go on too much about that one. But again, a brilliant penalty from Fernandes. Steps up, and that's the 3 points. Dan?
Easy peasy. It was never in doubt, was it?
Apart from
everyone's got
half an hour on whether or not the opposition should have been sent off, 2 seconds, or involved in United.
Never in doubt. No, you've got to be happy. Everyone's happy with the result, I'd imagine. Hopefully, the performances come. We can't be too critical. I've said many a time I don't know who Alex is, but he's technically not wrong. It seems to be taking a bit more time. My only concern, and I've been saying this for 6 months, is as we run further into this season, we're going to need some of these players that the fan base is completely writing off. And obviously, we don't tend to do that on this channel. Everyone tends to have the tempi in and make valid points. But like Williams, for me, was brilliant in pre-season. We've sent him on loan to Ipswich. We could probably use him now because he played really well. It's a choice that we've lost. I would say, I said last week, Varane looks like he's a sprint away from an injury. He's now injured. We're now one injury away in the defence from needing Maguire again, and he's been thrown under the bus. The same with Martial. I personally think that he's probably going to start against Arsenal because Ten Hag, he said that the stats are there that we play better when Martial's up front and we tend to make more chances, etc. The stats back it up. I just think some of these players that are being written off need to be shown a little bit more love by the club, by Ten Hag, because we're going to need them. We're going to need Scott McTominay if he doesn't leave. We're going to need Maguire if he doesn't leave. We're going to need Martial playing back.
We're going to need all of them. We need the whole squad.
Yeah, we're going to need everybody. And there's just a little bit of a worry from my point of view that Ten Hag has his 12 players that he's going to use, maybe 13, and he's not going to stray from that until we really, really deep in the mires of 3 games a week and people are picking up injuries constantly. You saw it today. He didn't really want to make changes when we were struggling at 3-2. He sort of kept it the same because I suppose in your head as a coach, you make a change and it goes wrong. There's going to be issues, but you would see other coaches, for example, you saw Chelsea just throwing on youth talent willy-nilly. I know it was a different situation because he was winning, and I suppose that's what Ten Hag was hoping for today. Just hope that he does give some of these players a chance, second team youth players, because we're going to need them at some point. And honestly,
is he a new player for Chelsea?
Who's that?
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly, yeah. Well, with the amount of players you sign, you never know.
Well, you never know.
But yeah, no, it's 90 million.
Yeah, no, well, 160.
And he's on an 8-year contract.
10 year. No, it's brilliant, and we've just got to pray and hope the performances step up. We're not going to get away with that against Arsenal. Let's be honest. Neither the Wolves performance, Spurs performance, or this one. We need to be on it from minute one. Again, my worry is I think every person sat here can probably call the starting 11 next week, and if we can all call it as a little group of fans, that means Mikel Arteta's already worked it out and already planning against it.
I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about Arsenal on next week's show due to the fact that we'll be playing on the Sunday. But obviously, Bainesy, we've got... Sorry?
I was saying we're on the Sunday.
Okay, I thought you were correcting me and saying Monday then for a second.
Oh, no, Sunday.
Bainesy, we're gonna go for a little bit more audio from you. You appear to have frozen in time once again, looking intently.
Oh, you're joking.
I'm not.
He's back.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Honestly, this has been superb.
I'm an IT professional. I shouldn't be having IT issues.
I don't believe you, Bainesy.
You were just this really.
For God's sake.
The spirit of the fly is still causing problems. But obviously, we've got the Carabao Cup draw coming up, presumably in midweek after those games have been played. Obviously, on the 31st of August, we have got the Champions League draw being made. I mean, it is a bit of a worry, isn't it? That this is how we've performed so far in those first 3 games. We're all really excited to get back in the Champions League. Can we see ourselves being in a situation where we make it out of the group stages of that? Can we make another Carabao Cup final and win it? Where's your optimism for this season? What you think?
I mean, over the years I've been on here on this channel, I've always been the optimistic fan, I'd say. Again, now if we go back a few weeks when we were in pre-season and we're signing players and we've just signed Mount and we're after Onana or whatever, you'd think that we would go on and to win another trophy and have a solid top 2, top 3 in the league. Now, everyone would, I think the majority of people would be happy with that. A trophy and a solid top 2, not like we're like 19 points off the top or whatever. A solid top 2, like we're in the hunt. You're not quite in the title race, but you're up there or thereabouts. We're still the outsider. That's what you would want. But I mean, right now, if you look at all the injuries that we've got, the amount of games that we've got coming up, and just the way we're playing right now, it's quite hard to really predict how we're going to do. Lost to Tottenham last week. Our away form against the top 6 is horrendous, or the top 8? I think that stat was. It is pretty horrendous. And obviously, you get into the Champions League is no joke, right? So even in the group stages, we're going to have some really tough games. No matter what group you're in, you're going to have some tough games, right? So even getting out of the group stages, you're getting into the thick of the tournaments where you're in the latter stages of most, you would hope, the most of the cup competitions. Yeah, it's certainly not, it's not looking great. But the thing is, now this is the thing, this is where my optimism is going to come out. We're 3 games into the season. We're going to have problems. We're going to have teething issues. There's obviously new players that have come in. Onana, Mount, Højlund hasn't even kicked the ball for us yet. So there's that. Okay, we're not looking at February and we're going, oh my God, we've got 19 players injured and we've got 4 games a week and we've got all of this. We're 3 games into the season. I'm sure Erik ten Hag and his coaching staff are going to look at this and go, right, performances aren't good. Or they're looking at it and going, actually, performances are good. We are creating chances. We're just missing that one little bit at the end. And that could be Højlund. That could be putting Rashford on the left. That could be playing Sancho. It could be sorting out the midfield in Casemiro, Mount and Bruno, or Casemiro, Mainu, or whatever, right? We're 3 games into the season. I don't think we need to panic. I've always said, and for a long, long time, in order to assess a season, you need to get about 10 games in. 10 games in will give us a good rundown of games and a good what's the word I'm trying to say?
Baseline.
It will show us enough. Yeah, it will show us enough to know, okay, this is where we're going. Now we could go out next week, and I'm not saying it will, but we could go out next week and go and beat Arsenal, right? Then the week after that, we could then I don't know who we got, but we could then draw or lose. But if we go out to Arsenal next week, everyone's going to be like, hold on a minute, we've turned this round. We've just gone and beaten the team that are picked to beat City for the title away. So we're too early in the season, way too early in the season to actually judge. We need to get to about 10 games, and then you go, right, okay, we can't shake out of this rut that we're in, or we have shaken out of that rut. Don't forget, this time last week, we were actually 3 points better off. 3 points better. No, you ain't. Yeah, 3 points better off this time last season, right? And after that Brentford loss, we beat Liverpool 2-1, and then we went on this really nice run of just continuously playing good football, getting the results. Rashford was scoring. Then we had the World Cup, obviously, blah blah blah. But yeah, look, it's too early in the season. We need to play at least another 6 to 8 games, and then you can assess how well we're doing and what we can predict to do in the league or the cup competition.
Can I jump in with a bit of breaking news?
You can. I was just going to say, it's not like United fans to be reactionary.
So Dean Henderson has agreed to go to Crystal Palace.
Correct.
And apparently, according to one of the better sources on the internet in terms of transfers, Man United have made contact with Chelsea to ask about conditions of a Cucurella loan deal.
Correct. Which
Cucurella?
I was going to go to that. So I wanted to come to Benny about this one, because obviously he was talking about Fernandes earlier as well. So there's 2 at the moment. So according to Romano, I'll name them, I'm not bothered with that, but Romano has said that the Dean Henderson thing is going to happen. That's a 7 million. Everything's in euros nowadays. 7 million euros. So I don't know what that's about, 50p in English money. And we've got the Turk, Altay Bayindir, already in England. So it looks like we'll be getting him. I think he was between 4 and 5 million euros. So that's a Snickers. What do you reckon, Benny? Because if we are into this Marc Cucurella as well, potentially, and it says there's other possible options, a short list of about 3. It sounds as if we are looking to try and bring in another left back. We don't appear to be willing to address any of the rather more important pressing matters, like the fact we've got no attack that have actually scored yet in 3 games.
That Cucurella one, what the hell are we playing at? He can't get in the Chelsea team. Absolutely useless. I'd rather give Fernandes game time there. That one baffles me, I know it's only be a short-term loan deal or whatever it may be, or a loan for a season, but he's been absolutely bobbing since he signed from Brighton to Chelsea. He can't get in their side. Why are we looking at cast-offs? Really? Seriously? I don't know, man. But anyway, it is what it is. If he comes, I'll obviously I back him. Always back your players, but that one baffles me. Is there no other decent left back in the world of football than Cucurella?
Should we not be giving you a chance?
That's what I'm thinking. You've got Alvaro Fernandes there, someone that's got a high ceiling at the minute. Why should we not giving him a chance? And that's the one thing that I don't take out. The one thing that's baffled me is he's not really giving many youth a chance at the minute. Yes, Garnacho, you could say, and yes, Kobe Mainu, unfortunately, had he not got injured, Kobe Mainu would have been in the first team. I have no doubt about it. I would have started probably his first 3 matches as a start in the starting 11. And that's probably why our style of play has been chucked out the window a little bit, because of that injury to Mainu. I think he would have been playing Mainu, alongside Casemiro in the middle of that midfield. Big Casemiro's legs. But that Cucurella one's really, really disappointed with that, if that's him.
You weren't bad at Brighton.
Come on, Andy.
It's worse than Ryan Bertrand. I'd rather Ryan Bertrand, mate.
What do you think, Andy? Is it a yes from you, no from you?
It's a strange one, the Cucurella. I mean, at Brighton, he did very well. I remember when we lost there 4-0, Cucurella was one of the best.
He scored, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored as well.
He did, yeah.
Yes, he did. So, one of the best players on the pitch. And I'm like, but since he's gone to Chelsea, he's not stepped up that level. And I'm just like, it's weird. I'm agreeing with Benny. I just think Alvaro Fernandes, I'm surprised he didn't maybe make the starting 11 today. I mean, from what I've seen of him, and he had a good loan spell at Preston North End last season. I think he made about 42 appearances and got about 6 assists. So, I mean, if you gave him the chance, I think in the absence of Shaw and Malacia, I think he would, step up and do the job and rise to the challenge. So I'm not sure where the thinking is with this Cucurella one.
Delo didn't have a bad game though today, did he?
Delo's done all right at left back his entire career. He's not been too bad.
I would have
It's
took
what
him
it
up.
is.
I would
There's
have
only
took him
needs
up
another
at half-time.
injury to left or right back, and then you're up the creek without a paddle.
To be fair, the Cucurella thing, I could probably see where they're probably going. They're thinking, who can we get in sort of, with less than a week left to the transfer window shut? Someone where we don't want to spend money, because if we're looking to bring a midfielder in, Amrabat maybe, or we're looking to try and squeeze the forward out of our ever diminishing pot of gold, if you like, a pot of coins or whatever, maybe Cucurella, maybe I've overreacted a little bit. Maybe there is something, that you look at there on a cheap option. You're only paying his wage. You're not paying a massive transfer fee or anything for him. And if a deal could be done, fair enough as backup. I can't see him being first choice once obviously Luke Shaw's fit and Malacia, when Malacia's back as well. It's got to be dependent on what Cucurella wants as well. Cucurella could look at it and goes, well, hold on, I could go to United, probably play a couple of matches. Depending on if Delo keeps his place at left back, because as you said, Delo's done quite well, and he does tend to do quite well at left back. Am I going to get a look in? Because once Luke Shaw comes back, once Malacia comes back, Cucurella's probably thinking, I'm going to be third, fourth choice here. It's probably and you look at the youth side though. You've got Alvaro Fernandez, we've mentioned. Sam Murray, unfortunately, who plays the 21s at the minute. Unfortunately, I think he's been injured. He's another left back. Again, but he's a couple of years younger than Alvaro Fernandez, obviously. But he's an FA Youth Cup winner, Sam Murray, part of the FA Youth Cup winning side. It's just, I don't know. I just think sometimes it's like you look at it, you're thinking, Ten Hag's come with this. Obviously, comes from Ajax. You know that their philosophy is youth. Comes to United, whether he's under pressure or whether he's doesn't think that our youth is up to it, or he doesn't want to chuck him in that cauldron of fire straight away. It just baffles me how somebody like an Alvaro Fernandez, you've got him on the bench. You've got him on the bench today. You've got him within your squad. Do we not just maybe take a little gamble there, and go, listen, I'm going to give the kid a chance. I'm going to see what the kid's got. We'll say, money or wages that of a possible loan sign, and we could put that money to a midfield player or towards trying to hope maybe bringing a forward of some sort, or maybe even bringing covering at centre half, depending if Maguire goes. I know Johnny Evans has just signed, for another year, but does he maybe look at bringing some a younger, more youthful sort of defender that can learn from those there? I don't know, mate. Maybe I've overreacted a little bit. It's just when you look at Cucurella, you're thinking he's not. There's levels to this game. He was great at Brighton. Don't get me wrong. He was fantastic at Brighton. Got to Chelsea. It's not worked out. It's just you're looking at these. I'm sick of these little sticky plasters coming on loan. Are we not looking forward to the future? Can we not build for the future?
I think ultimately this all comes down.
Chelsea at the minute. If you look at that Chelsea side, they're building for the future. Yes, they're buying in billions of fucking players left, right, and centre, but they're giving their youth a little bit of a chance, right? Right at the start of the season. There's young players in there. Can we not look to do the same? When Manchester United, we always pride ourselves on the youth. We always pride ourselves on development of youth players. Brandon Williams a few years back, he came in at left back. When Luke Shaw was injured, chucked him in the deep end. First season, he was brilliant. Second season came a little bit unstuck for him, and unfortunately, he's not been able to fight his way back in. But can we not give somebody that opportunity instead of trying to chuck a sticky plaster at that? Can we not build our own, our own youth up into the mold that he wants? Give them a little bit of time, give them a little bit of preparation, give them a chance to learn at the very, very highest level and develop at the very, very highest level. The only problem is, though, there's not a lot of patience in football now. So that Ten Hag's probably looking at, I need somebody now that can come in, do the job till January or till the end of the season, be my sticky plaster. And I can maybe look at the youth. I don't know.
Jump in for a second there, Benny, because it goes on to the next part of what we wanted to talk about tonight, which is, you talk about the youth, but obviously there is a lot of pressure. There's going to be pressure on Ten Hag. There's pressure on any manager when you're in the Premier League to achieve your objectives and do what you need to do. And this then goes to the wider problem of the club, the fact that we are owned by the Glazers, the fact that we've got all of that going on. And there was a massive protest today, and we really wanted to make sure we were talking about that tonight, which obviously the two of you, Benny and Andrew, are at. And it was, for me, the cleverest of all the protests that they've done so far, because it was quite sensible. Just stay in your seat. It doesn't require you to do too much. Connor joked a little bit earlier about how did Andrew manage to get back in 2.5 hours. Well, this is it. If you leave an hour later, when maybe 8,000 people are leaving with you as opposed to 68,000 people, you're in with a good shout of getting back within 2.5 hours. Ironically, probably would have been back at the same time had he just left at full time. So, but it was a better protest, and I think a more joined up protest as well, rather than it just being the 1958. I'd like you two just to take us through your experience of it, what you thought of it. Obviously, you agreed with it, otherwise you wouldn't have sat there. And my only other real question on it is, why is it that so many people still left at full time? Why do we not have more people realizing that, this was a perfect opportunity to just really get this message across to the Glazers?
I'll go first. Just in terms of the protests, well, in terms of those people that did leave, I can understand why some people, they've got to get back, or they're waiting to get trains or, buses. I can understand that, time permitting, to get back home. But those who did stay, I think it was a good protest. I mean, even when those that were in the TRM, where I was standing in the south stand, those that were in the Sir Alex Ferguson stand, the bottom tier and the east stand, they all started walking around, literally, and the stewards did nothing. Well, did nothing. They just let them walk through. They should walk across all the way to the Stretford end. But yeah, so just singing away and good protest. It was only, you could see there was like preparing. Well, they were prepared for it because there's like more stewards coming out as time went on, and then the police came out as well. I was thinking, it was like, and that's when the booze came out. It was like, I think there was one point started singing "We're going on the pitch." I thought, that's not going to be a good look if we tried to do that. But I just think, it was all, I think, well joined up. I'd say, will the Glazers take any notice? Probably not. And let's say United were up because it was announced there was going to be a sitting protest. They were a plan for what was going to happen. So literally, the stewards was just standing there, just watching. I was thinking, well, you're getting paid to stand there as well. So, but yeah, I just think it's well worked out. Yeah, I would have liked for the whole stadium to stay, but I can understand why those left as well. But yeah.
Well, from my point of view, I think like the 58 have said, like it's to gauge the reaction. This is why they've done it today. They've handed out thousands of leaflets. They've done it, obviously done a big social media campaign on it all as well via different platforms, and some have gone on fan channels and whatever, other fan channels and whatever, to try and get the word out. They've been all over local radio as well, and so it's been put out there. As I said, I begrudge nobody that has to get a train back or who has to get a coach back. Fair enough. But for the first time doing this, I thought it was pretty decent, the amount of people that stayed. Yes, you'd like a little bit more people to stay, but then again, people with families and it's weekend and everything, so people have got stuff to do and need to get the kids back and what have you. That's another thing I don't begrudge anybody doing. But But as Andrew said, people started from the Alex Ferguson stand. We noticed we're sort of making their way round, jumping into the Stretford end. At first, without no stewards, a president and then the stewards were making sure, still letting people jump across and making sure people were doing it as safely as possible, so no one's getting crushed or no one's getting hurt or anything. So fair play to the stewards there. They weren't trying not to, weren't trying to stop people from going into the Stretford end, for example. Some people from the Sir Bobby Charlton stand were jumping across into the TRA section as well. Again, no stewards were stopping them as far as I've seen. Just making sure everybody was, doing it as safely as possible. Stewards are brilliant, at the top of the Stretford end, no trouble. They just said, yeah, they'd be briefed on it, they know what's happening, we have no problems with people sitting in and having a peaceful protest and everything, which is what the club has always said, we have a right to a peaceful protest. It's the first one that I've done in a long time, to be fair, because obviously with little man, I can't really do the outside ones because he likes to go in and everything, and with the flares and everything, he has asthma and everything, so I can't really be anywhere near flares. So this is the first one that we've been able to do in a long time, or I've been able to do in a long time, but with little man just sitting there. It was good natured, people. There was nobody was acting a fool. Nobody was causing any trouble. There was obviously chants about that. Anti-Glazer chants everything, and chants. Still singing about the team and everything, and where Man United would do what we want and everything. It was all good. There was no trouble or anything. Nobody looking to cause trouble, which is great because you always get that one idiot that thinks he's beyond anybody else. But it was all well behaved, well mannered. Stewards were brilliant. I believe we got our point of view across because obviously MUTV were doing their bits and bobs pitch side after the game as well, because obviously they're still live. They go for a live pre-show, after show, whatever the hell it is that they do. So there was plenty of chanting there, Glazers out and stuff like that. So. And then there was on the pitch there was a television camera pointed at the TRA and then spanning across the Stretford end and everything. So there was a camera of some sort there,
I think that might have been NBC or like the American.
Yeah, it could have been one of the channels. Yeah,
it was.
Just probably
I was watching it on
so
a dodgy stream.
Yeah, so it was all good, and I know this was their way of gauging, to maybe try again for a bigger game, which will be on television. First and foremost, what were the stewards going to be like? How many people were going to prepare to stay? Also, gauge what the police reaction was to it all. But the police, obviously they get the heckles, they get the little bit of the booze, they get the banter a little bit. But the police were just there, I think, just to back up the stewards to make sure nobody enters the field of play, anything like that. Because obviously that's a criminal offence, entering the pitch. So, they were just there, I think, just to make sure that everything was going tickety boo. Everything was tickety boo, So hopefully this now give the 58 more, the 1958 group more impetus to maybe roll it out at a bigger game when there's going to be TV cameras galore there, So hopefully that'll be the next stage. This just, as they said, this is just a tester, to gauge what people are like, just to gauge what people's thoughts are. And I'm sure they'll be collecting feedback and information from those that stayed and those that didn't stay, and they'll take it from there. And hopefully they'll announce their next steps in due course.
Sounds sensible. Bainesy, Jennifer's put here, the best protest is to kill off revenue streams from the megastore and the food outlets. Obviously, that is something. I've argued quite simply that the best form of protest is actually for just everybody to never turn up. Obviously, season ticket holders, they paid in advance, not what you can do about it. But the on-the-day ones just don't turn up, because ultimately the only thing that's really going to worry the football club is not seeing people in the seats. Where do you stand on the whole protesting? Because clearly it's a global fan base. It's virtually impossible to get everybody to not turn up, even just for one match, to show the disdain. So where do you stand on it all at the moment?
Yeah, nail on the head there. Really, it's the United are too global to not always feel the ground. Unfortunately, now that is a logical thing that for one game you sacrifice your space and you don't go. But the issue is with that is that as much as we may hate to say it, that United are such a big tourist attraction. You have fans all over the world that fly in, particularly for this game. Now, of course, the protests are well in advance, which I get that, and that's fair. But the most effective way really is to change up what they were doing. Now they did that today. A lot of the protests have been before the game. I think they meet up, don't they, like 30 minutes or something like that, 40 minutes before at a pub, and then they march along, end up at Mad Way, and you can hear them as you're walking to the ground. You can actually hear them chanting, and you could join in, and it's very friendly. It's no drunken behaviour, let's say. But they needed to change it. Now the protests. Some people say the protests don't work. Some people say the protests do work. Currently, the Glazers are still here. Yes, there is a big possibility of them selling, and they're in that whole charade of, if you can even call it a takeover right now. But they did need to change it, and they did that today. And you have to commend 1958 because it was starting to get a little bit repetitive. It was starting to get a little bit slow. People weren't really engaging too much. And then what happened was they came out, and I think they were with Stretford Paddock during the week, and they were promoting it. They gave out flyers. They obviously they're all over Twitter. So it was a good and healthy change. And then also on top of that, you did see TV cameras like MUT, like with Benny with MUTV. It was they were panning to the grounds and to the fans, and you could see the banners, you could see the Glazers out, you could clearly hear them, which was it was brilliant. It was so good. It was really refreshing. It was good to see. Now I'm hoping that I'm sure it will, but I'm hoping it will just continue and we can get a more effectiveness out of it. The end goal really is to get the Glazers gone. Now they've got two options. They've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe and they've got the Qatari group. I mean, we can have a whole show on that, but the best thing is to continue the pace, spread the word, and it is the most effective way. Is really not to turn up. It really is, but unfortunately, I don't think ever that's going to happen unless something really bad happens, like if Man United get relegated or something like that, but that's really never going to happen. Well, I hope not anyway, touch wood. But yeah, it needed a change. It happened. It was really good seeing everyone's videos. I think Andrew put some in. Benny put some in as well, and all over social media. It was everywhere. Some of the main channels got onto it. I know Sport Bible, I think, tweeted. Obviously, we did our bit and retweeted. All the main United aggregator accounts, they all came in and said, look, here's all the videos of that's brilliant because it creates more traction. It gets onto the media, it gets us trending. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing. Need more of it essentially. But yeah, all for it, and it's a job well done by the 1958.
Right, we are going to get everybody's man of the match in just a second, but Dan, just your quick thoughts on the protest as well. And I don't know if you're a bit like me. I mean, I've listened to a lot of the songs that Benny's mentioned. We've got a cracking fan base when it comes to songs. We've got a rich history of coming up with them. But the one about Joel Glazer, I struggle with that one. I struggle with having any chant that's talking about Joel Glazer's going to die. It feels like that's a step way too far. But I don't know, maybe other people disagree with me on that one. I struggle with that one. But what's your thoughts, Dan?
I think it's good that they've done it. It's different. I'll try and keep it short. My issue is getting it backed by the right people, because let's be honest, we've seen already from club releases that they can just edit out the audio pretty quickly. They can remove the banners with a click of a button, and then it's not on the Man United Twitter account anymore. Like, you don't know what's happened. You need the big fan channels and the big sporting tweet to really pick it up and get it shared about. Honestly, I'm looking at it now, and there's quite a few. It seems like there was quite big numbers. A lot of people have picked up on what's happened. Genuinely, do I think it'll make a difference? Very little, if any. Hopefully it makes enough difference that the Glazers realise they can't keep any shares when they sell. That would be probably the best outcome, which is for them to just fully go and not try and keep a piece of the pie. I mean, hats off to everybody involved, to be honest. It's good to see people doing it. I agree with you in the sense that if we could just, for one game, nobody turns up, that would be a real shift, and they would really understand.
That would be shockwaves.
Yeah, but it's
every single media outlet, everyone.
Yeah. Well, every sporting, they'd all pick it up. It's just not going to happen. It's there's too many people there that would fill the seats instantly, and it's the same with the season ticket. I hear a lot of people. There's a guy that comes into my workplace. He's the season ticket holder, goes every week. He is a lot of. I won't mention the person in particular, but they'll say stuff like, "Well, give up your season ticket if you truly want them out." Yeah, but it will be picked up. There's a waiting list of God knows how many thousands, and the speed it would go, you would miss it more than anything else. So I understand.
Or someone will just pick it up straight away.
Yeah. It's not. You're just a digit on a thing to the club. The club will just get that ticket sold probably at a higher price in seconds. So you've got to do it the right way. But no, I think they've done a really good job. That I'm hoping, honestly. Wait till there's a Man City derby going off. Old Trafford, do it then. Do a proper sit-in if it works, and hopefully the Glazers are gone by then. But really big game, TV cameras.
One can but hope. Listen, there were lots of good performances tonight, or this afternoon rather. One word: who's your man of the match? Bainesy.
Bruno, captain, fantastic.
I had a feeling it might be Andrew.
Yeah, Bruno as well. He was the best player today.
Benny?
Bruno, mate, can't argue against that, mate. Absolutely fantastic today. More like the Bruno that we know and love. You know, absolutely controlled the game from midfield. Can't look beyond Bruno.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm in peer pressure now.
Yeah, well, you can't go for Beckham on this one.
I definitely can. Yeah. I would have gone with Rashford. Won the penalty, set up a goal, and pre-assisted a goal.
Yeah, that's a fair shout.
Yeah.
And Ericsson was decent as well.
I was just going to say, I felt it was between Fernandes, Casemiro, Rashford, and Ericsson. They would have been me four. So, yeah, good shouts, one and all. Listen, we've reached the end. We've probably gone on a little bit longer. So, congratulations if you managed to make it from the start all the way to the end here, like us five hardy souls here. So, yes, thank you very much, Bainesy. Lovely to have you back on the show again, Andrew. And Benny, thank you very much for not speeding, but getting yourself here on time as well. Dan, timekeeping, we'll have a chat about that off screen. But yes, thank you for being here as well. I just want to finish off with a bit of sad news, really, because it's always sad when you have to talk about these sorts of things. But it was made very clear to me from the Manchester United website that we have had a death in the club of Bobby Noble. 33 appearances for this fine football club, 31 of them in the league, 2 of them in the cup. Interesting story, because the young man from Stockport, bless him, was to retire at the age of 23. He was playing around about in the 66-67 season. He was part of the FA Youth Cup winning team, the captain in 1964, playing with the likes of Best and Sadler. And he really wanted to be playing. And in 1966, he was a fullback. We could have done with him now. But he was a fullback. And he did really, really well. So well that Matt Busby gave him the opportunity to play that season. But then he was in a car crash. And upon trying to recover from that car crash, the one thing that didn't recover was the injury to his eyesight. And as a result, he ended up having to retire at the very young age of just 23. As I say, unfortunately, he has passed away sometime over the last couple of days. 33 appearances. For reference, that is one more than Angel Di Maria, 2 more than Wout Weghorst managed, and 2 less than Bastian Schweinsteiger. So if you imagine those sorts of periods of play, that's roughly how many he played. So all of us here at All for United just wanted to put our condolences across and to salute once again, because once a red, always a red. So thank you very much for all of you for joining in. Thank you again in the comments as well. You guys are awesome. And we will be back next week where we'll be looking ahead to the joys of Arsenal and probably more refereeing decisions. We'll see you soon. And here's our brand new AFU outro.